Welcome into the lounge presented by DraftKings. We have the pleasure of sitting down with cornerback Rock Ya-Sin today. Rock, thank you for joining us. I want to start here. Rock. There's no better name than Rock for a football player. It doesn't get it. Pepe, no shade on Pepe, but Rock for a football player is pretty awesome. Your given first name is Abdurrahman. Yeah, I think I got close. And so where did Rock come from? Can you tell us the backstory?
Well, I was wrestling. I had a coach, Keith Johnson, great, legendary high school coach in Georgia.
Yeah.
But kind of brass guy, So, we started wrestling, and I came in the first day, and I had beat some of the starters on the team. And after a while, he was like, hey, man, what's your name? Blah, 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 And I was like, Abdurrahman. He was like, huh? Like, Abdurrahman. He started trying to say my name. He was butchering it. He's like, I'm just going to call you Rock. And then, from 10th grade, through college and now in the NFL 5 years in, Rock has just stuck, and it's like more people call me Rock than actually call me Abdurrahman.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is it just when you go home, family, basically?
Family, close friends I grew up with, but outside of that, people that have met me in the last 5 or 6 years, it's just Rock for them.
Yeah, and I would assume you embrace it. You're like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't have no problem with it. I don't have no problem with it at all.
That's cool. Well, you're obviously you come here from a new team. It's just a new start, and you look at the secondary talented group. You got Marlon Humphrey on the other side. You got Marcus Williams behind you, Kyle Hamilton. What's it like to step in and be part of this secondary?
It feels great, man. Coming in, competing with these guys, learning from them, the chemistry we're building. The way, the work ethic in the room, the attitude in the room, the effort every day, the detail, the strain to get better. I feel like, everybody's going to elevate their game just by playing with each other and, learning from each other and competing every day.
Now, part of that is also the guys on the other side. And the Ravens made some big investments on the receivers this year. They added you on the defensive side. They added some big receivers, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, Nelson Aguilar. How does going against those guys help sharpen your tools every single day?
I feel like the number one thing it does is build confidence. You're going against a guy like OB, Zay Flowers, Nelson, Rashad Bateman when he gets out there. Dev, Pro. You can go down the line of really good players, accomplished players in this league. And you're out there competing against those guys, winning reps, learning and getting better. By the time you get to game time, you have a certain amount of confidence. And confidence comes from demonstrated ability. So if I demonstrated my ability to myself, I can go out there and compete with OB or Zay or Nelson or Rashad or Pro I can go down the line, all those guys. Mm-hmm. If I demonstrate my ability that I can compete with those guys, I feel really good about where I am.
Any first impressions of OBJ and Zay Flowers? What's your take?
Well, OB is OB, and Zay, they call him the human joystick or whatever. That kind of it kind of fits him.
It's interesting here you talk about the confidence piece because that is so big for really any player, but I think especially for corners. And when you're going up against Odell, something that's stood out to me since he got here is just all eyes are on him every time. And so I feel like as a corner, if you're lined up out there on an island, like a stadium practice or out here, everyone's looking at you.
For sure.
And they're and fans want to see him make a big play.
Nobody wants to have the one-hander on them.
That everyone's watching that rep for you. And how does that affect your mindset?
It's just like in the game. You're out there on the island, you're in the boundary, whatever. You play in this division, there's really good ex-receivers in this division, you know what I mean? And just like the fans in our stadium or our practice want to see the receiver win, fans in the stadium want to see that receiver win, you know what I mean? It prepares you for that, you know what I mean? For those moments, for the kind of the pressure moments, when it's a lot on the line, even though it's just out there competing, that stuff means a lot to us, you know what I mean? We're trying to get better. Same thing in the game, you know what I mean? It's high pressure. It means something. It's a lot on the line, you know what I mean? So it kind of prepares you for that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Is it weird when a wide receiver catches the ball in practice and the fans cheer and you're like, wait a second, I'm on this team too. What the heck?
Man, you just know it's it's an offensive league. You know what I mean? Everybody loves offense, man. The casual fan, 99% of the fans, they love offense. They want to see touchdowns.
Yeah.
They want to see OB dancing and stuff. Right. So I'm not surprised by it at all.
This is kind of the time of the year where defensive players start giving us a hard time about posting highlights. All you're doing is posting receiver highlights here. Can we get some defensive highlights here? So
it's like you only post the interceptions, and how often does the interception?
because then it's like you don't really want to post the interception. Like, does someone want to post Lamar throwing an interception?
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah.
it's the deck is stacked against you guys. I feel bad.
It's kind of what sells though. I mean, what sells. Like, that's what's gonna get the most retweets, the most likes. So
you know how the game works.
Yeah, I understand.
Now I remember when you were coming out in the draft in 2019. I really liked you. Like, you reminded me kind of a bigger version of Tavon Young.
Yeah.
You know, another Temple guy, another scrappy, physical dude. You know.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I like this Rock Ya-Sin guy. How do you describe your game? Like, what do you feel like you bring to the Ravens?
I feel like it's competitive. Like detailed. Like a strain to get better every day. Like a guy that's focused. A guy that's, like you said, scrappy, physical. A guy that's, wants to compete and win, That's kind of my mentality. That's kind of my game. That's how it's been, throughout my time in the league.
Yeah. That I mean, it feels like Raven. That just like defines a Raven. What was it? Was it that mentality that led you to signing with the Ravens? What was it that landed you here?
Yeah, just hearing about the culture here, man, like the locker room is filled, with those kind of guys. Guys competitive, hungry, guys that'll fight and claw and, compete to win. And then, I mean, the players here, I mean, I don't think there's a better player in the league than Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? Then you got, I mean, like you said, all the investments on the offense at the receiver position. I mean, then you got the defense. I mean, oh my God, at all three levels, the D-line, the linebackers. Then in the secondary, I mean, like it's star-studded, really accomplished players and players that are just like hitting their stride. They're going to be like really, really good players for a long time. So I'm excited for the year, excited to be here, competing and learning with these guys, and excited to go to war with them and win a lot of games.
Yeah.
So, Rock, what have the last couple of years been like for you? You come into the NFL, you step in, and you're playing well, you're starting, and then you end up getting traded to the Raiders as part of the Yannick Ngakoue trade.
Yeah.
Obviously, you spent some time here too.
Yeah.
And so how did you kind of process all of that? You go from one team to the next, and you learn about the business side.
That'd be weird.
I'm sure you probably feel like you feel like I'm kind of settled in here. Like I'm one of the guys, and then all of a sudden you're not. Like what was that like?
Honestly, I kind of saw it coming just because. Okay, so my first year in the league, I had a decent rookie year. I was on an all-rookie team. I started a lot of games, played pretty well. Second year, I had some struggles. Third year, again, I turned a corner. Started games, played well. And then after that third year, I kind of realized, I looked at the locker room and I saw like that for this team to compete, we need certain pieces. We needed an edge rusher. We needed a quarterback. We needed things like the serious pieces.
Yeah.
And I was looking at, okay, like who's young, ascending, playing pretty well. You know what I mean?
Wait a second.
Told my mom, told my little brother, I might have told my sister. I told like a lot of my family that like I'm probably gonna get traded.
Wow.
Yeah, like, and they were like, "Wow, you had your best season. Why would you get traded?" I was like, "That's why." And so when Chris called me and told me I got traded, I wasn't surprised at all. I was kind of like more like relieved because I was like, I knew this was coming. Now it finally happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then going to Vegas, I mean, it was a good experience. I felt like I got in like it was a good experience because it forced me to grow. Like get out of that comfortability of being an Indy team that drafted me. Been there 3 years, go somewhere new, learn a new system, be around new coaches, a new culture. You know what I mean? And I feel like it prepared me for free agency. You know what I'm saying? Like having to not be worried about, if this is the only place I've ever been, what's it like other places? It's like you'll adapt to whatever. You know what I mean? Like you went from two totally different cultures, two totally different systems, two totally different head coaches. I mean, two totally different locker rooms. If I can go from the Indy locker room to the Vegas locker room, I can go to any locker room. That's how I felt, So it prepared me, really.
Wait, and why was it? Was it just that? Was it the city that was part of it, or was it the guys? Like, what made the locker room so different?
The culture there just different, man. Like Indy is like really, really blue collar. Like a lot. Like everybody's the same in Indy. It's like the whole locker room is the same. Okay. Everybody's the same kind of guys. You know what I mean? If you're different, you're like kind of an outlier. But in Vegas, it's like every locker is a different guy. This guy might be from here, this background, that background, loud, quiet, enthusiastic to himself. Like just it's different, but in Indy, everybody was one way. They had a mold for players and mentalities that they like, and that's what it is there.
So then you come here to Baltimore, and like, what is your impression when you look at the locker room here, and you've been to these different places and different cities, and you're kind of assessing, all right, how's this going to stack up? What are these guys going to be like? I've heard about Ravens culture, play like a Raven. So what do you think of the atmosphere here?
I feel like it's a great atmosphere. First of all, I mean, I think Coach Harbs, is like a good leader. And he's a leader of men. People respect him and listen to what he has to say. And the locker room, it's a mix between those two. You got some blue collar guys, got some guys that are a little bit different. You got some rowdier guys. What you need energy. You got some guys who are quiet. You got guys who are like super leaders, and you got guys who are good leaders but are willing to follow. It's like a great mixture in this locker room here.
It's interesting. Marcus Peters was in your position before you, and you strike me as a different kind of energy than Marcus.
Yeah.
What do teammates tell you about Marcus? Is there any kind of thing in your head about like knowing that's the guy I'm replacing?
And he, of course, ends up in Vegas.
Right, exactly.
It's kind of full circle.
Weird,
right?
Crazy. But Marcus, I've watched him play for a long time. Really good player. Probably one of the best corners in our era. At taking the ball away, creating turnovers, whether it's forced fumbles or interceptions. He's different. I got a lot of respect for him as a player. But coming here, man, they talk about him. He was a guy who was enthusiastic, a lot of energy. You know what I mean? Really like a intelligent football player. You know what I mean? A guy that was a leader and kind of brought guys with him. Less like I'm a little bit more quiet in some situations. I speak up and talk when I need to, but in some situations I'm more like reserved. He's not.
You don't say.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go on the Titans logo, you mean?
Well, it is funny that you say like you're. Kind of quiet. I remember when first meeting you, and I'm kind of reserved at times. But like on the field, I feel like you talk more than I expected you to.
Oh yeah, not on the field because you have to, man. Playing corner because like calls come into the middle of the defense.
Yeah.
You're out there on the island. You got to make sure you're communicating. Like, hey, are we on the same page? Because things get lost in translation, as people say. So like, it's really important for me to be yelling and making sure. And another thing about our defense is it requires our corners to communicate things. You know what I mean? So it kind of brings that out of me. Like I said before, I'll speak when I need to. You know what I mean? Or communicate when I have to. But more so, I'm reserved. Like my personality is a reserved personality, especially outside of football. It's nothing casual or reserved about playing football. But outside of football, I have a reserved, quiet personality.
Right. You're talking about Vegas. You were off to a good start in Vegas last year, playing really well, and then you suffered the knee injury, which obviously is really hard.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to go through that? How did that change you as a player, as a man, and then to be kind of out on the free agent market? Not knowing what's next, was that a challenging process?
I feel like, it like I was telling someone asked me about Vegas last year. I feel like it was like a year of growth for me, like personally. I grew as a player, as a person, as a human being, as a son, I just feel like I grew in a lot of different ways. My faith kind of was tested, because you sit there, first, 7-8 games, I'm playing kind of lights out, in my own, I felt like I was playing lights out. And then I suffered the injury. I tried to battle back, whatever, end up on injury reserve. And then, so kind of from the highs to kind of the lows of being an injury reserve, finishing the season on injury reserve. And then going to free agency, not knowing what to expect. But, I was telling my agent, man, I was telling him from the beginning, I was like, bro, I want the right situation. I'm being patient, man. Whatever God has for me, it'll be for me. I'm not worried about it. And you can ask anybody that was close to me. People were asking me what are you gonna do? Are you gonna this? Are you gonna do that? I'm like, whatever God got for me, I'll be ready, whenever I get that call or whenever my number is called. But until then, I'm just handling my business on my end. I wasn't, frantic or losing my mind at all.
You talk about your faith, and you're Muslim, and I'm just curious how that faith has shaped you. Clearly, as you went through this process, it's something that you leaned on, and ultimately landed you here. I'm just curious how that faith has shaped who you are as a man.
I feel like it's like through and through, man. Through my DNA. I feel like every decision I make, or all of my interactions, like everything I do, because it's shaped by religion. Just because like being a Muslim is not so much like a religion, more so a way of life. Just think about like the first thing you do when you wake up is you clean yourself and you pray. You know what I mean? One of the last things you do before you go to sleep is you clean yourself and you pray. You know what I mean? Throughout the day, you have to stop whatever you're doing, make sure you go and pray. You know, like you're always constantly learning. And then like the interactions with people and stuff is like, every time I meet a person, I always want to make a good impression, because it might be the only impression they have of meeting a Muslim. You know what I mean? Or they might, or besides what they see on TV, you know what I mean? So I'm always trying to make a good impression. And that's what we should be as Muslims, you know? Like, another thing I love about Baltimore is so many Muslims here. I mean, it's like a huge Muslim community.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of, a lot of different mosques that I, attend and stuff. So I really enjoy being in Baltimore.
I would imagine growing up in Georgia, where you grew up, there wasn't a large Muslim community, or?
Well, it was only in certain spots, though. Okay. Only in certain spots. Only in certain spots, man. Like the Georgia as a state, not a large, Muslim community. Yeah. But that's the thing I love about the Northeast of the United States. I mean, it's a melting pot for everybody, though. Right. I mean, so many different cultures here. You can find, any kind of culture, religion here.
Do you have a spot here at the facility that you go and pray during the day?
Yeah, I do. I use the quiet room, I pray in there sometime, or Dr. Trisha, she lets me use her office. I go in there and pray. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's very cool. So I guess just take us through your childhood a little bit. What was it like in your background growing up in Georgia?
So I grew up on the east side of Atlanta. Single mom, 5 brothers and sisters. I was the oldest boy, so I was kind of always the man of the house. Challenging, growing up. I mean, I enjoyed it. Looking back on it, I see the challenges we had, but like while you're, living it, I didn't see the challenges. I mean, I was just a happy kid that loved playing and learning and being around my siblings, stuff like that, I was homeschooled up until 10th grade. Yeah. I started, my first introduction to sports was like in 7th grade. I started wrestling.
Yeah.
I ended up being a pretty good wrestler. I ended up winning 2 state titles in high school. Yeah. I got a couple of scholarship offers in that.
You kind of downplayed it. You're like, I was okay. I was decent. I just won these two little state championships.
Yeah, I wasn't.
A couple schollies.
Yeah, a couple. Just a couple.
Well, I remember that being part of your draft profile. There was a lot of buzz about that.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
Coaches love like wrestlers, accomplished wrestlers, and stuff like that.
I think they love the mentality.
Yeah.
Because wrestling is like a one-on-one sport, and then playing corner sometimes, even though it's a team sport, sometimes you're on the island. You gotta have that confidence to be able to go out there and trust yourself one-on-one. I feel like something I really learned from wrestling, man, and I took that with me into football. I started playing football in 11th grade. I ended up getting a couple of scholarship offers, not really much, but I committed to Presbyterian College in South Carolina. Yeah, played there for 3 years. Then I transferred up to Temple University in Philadelphia. Played there my senior year. Ended up being drafted, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So when you go to Presbyterian, like, are you thinking at that point, oh, NFL's, I'm going to the NFL one day?
I'll be honest with you, and this is like, I didn't say, I was like, because like I said, I'm not like one thing I think about, like, your goals and your aspirations and stuff, a lot of times it's better just keep to yourself, because people will shoot them down and tell you like so many people told me all the time, like, why are you working so hard, brother? Like, you're a Presbyterian, you're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Wow. But I would just like, whatever, but I wouldn't like put that on blast, like I'm going to the NFL. I do it in my head, because when I came on my visit, I was telling the strength coach, I said, do y'all do like combine prep? Like, do y'all, teach guys how to run 40s and 5'10" 5s? He looked at me like, huh? I was like, yeah, because like in 2019, I'm going to the draft. He's looking at me like okay, kind of. Not like, it was just like, as an 18-year-old kid coming in there, you haven't done anything. They looking at you like, big dreams you got, kind of, you know what I mean? Sure. But I was dead serious about it. And you can ask anybody that has known me, man, like, I worked for that. Like, I prayed for it and I worked for it, like, constantly. It was never like, I never wavered in that. I just worked hard and just kept pushing. And thankfully, God blessed me to, make it to the NFL.
Well, I read a story about you that said when you were in high school, you would have your coach like turn on the car lights on the football field at night.
It's a serious story, bro. Like that kind of like, I look back at that, bro, because we would practice, and then like, high school practice is not so much learning and stuff. It's more just, hey, get ready for the game. After practice, man, I would just stay out there. My mom, she got off work kind of late, maybe 8 or 9, and she wouldn't come get me till maybe like 9 o'clock. And you know, like, and coming to December and stuff, the days get shorter, so it's dark outside now.
Yeah.
So I would do it all year, but then like, you know, once the days started getting shorter, you know, I would just be out there. Sometimes I'll be out there, it'd be kind of dark almost. And Coach Rollerson, man, he saw me doing that. One day he just stayed. Ever since then, every day after practice, he would just stay and leave his lights on and let me work until my mom came and got me, man.
That's
it was
awesome.
like, that was crazy, bro.
Where's that work ethic come from for you to grind like that?
I think both my dad and my mom, man, like seeing my dad work, even though like I saw him, he was like, my parents were together when I was young. They divorced when I was like maybe like 6 or so. But like when I was young, my dad used to take me to work with him. He owned like a meat plant or whatever. I saw like the hours he worked, how hard he worked, man, like day in and day out. Like he's probably the hardest worker I've ever been around. And then, you know, growing up seeing my mom like work hard, you know, like never complain, never ask for a handout, just put her head down and work. You know, so if I could see my dad in his older years or him, you know, working his profession, and then my mom doing the same, like, you know, it was only right that I do the same, you know, especially as a younger person, you know what I mean? Like, and to take care of them as they took care of me, you know what I mean?
So you said you were the oldest of 5.
Oh, I was the oldest son.
Oldest son, okay.
Yeah. But of six.
Okay, of 6, okay. And so as you are, you know, working and work for these scholarship offers, like I got to believe that you're hopeful, you know, to your point about like, I knew I was going to go to the pros, but like you're hopeful, but that work ethic like has to kind of shape everything that you do.
Yeah.
And just during that time when you're in high school, as you're working, and whether it's in wrestling or football, how did that work ethic, I don't know, materialize? And I guess whether it's watching them or whatever it is.
I feel like, you know, in a lot of ways, I feel like it translated over to like me, like working actual jobs.
Yeah.
Like in high school, I always had a job. And then,
What was your first job?
my first job was working with a lawn care company. Cutting grass, man. Oh.
That's hard work.
Get that outdoor time right there.
But then when I went to college, I ended up like, I had like, in the summertime, I worked like 3 jobs, man. In the summertime, bro. Yeah, because, you know, we were like, this wasn't NIL money.
Yeah.
This was,
A little different, huh?
Yeah, this was Presbyterian college, no rent checks, nothing. So, you know, I needed that to, you know, help my mom and then also take care of myself. But I worked at UPS, I worked at Lowe's, and I also was a certified nursing assistant.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You did a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I did a little everything. But
That's awesome.
I feel like, you know, I always had good grades. I worked hard in the classroom.
Yeah.
You know, and then like even when I went to college, like I was a pre-med bio major for my first 3 years of college, knowing like, okay, like I'm working for the NFL. If that doesn't happen, I have to have like a backup plan to still be able to, you know, take care of my family and help myself. You know what I mean?
It's a heavy course load right there.
But I ended up, my sad thing is when I transferred, I lost, I think 27 of my biology credits.
Oh, no.
So I had to change my major to psychology. I went to Temple. But I ended up graduating from Temple with a psychology degree.
Gotcha. Well, I think the incredible part of your story, in part, is, you know, you go from Presbyterian to Temple, right? And then you have 1 year there, and then you're the 34th overall pick, right?
Yeah.
And I think I read that you said that when you went from Presbyterian to Temple, you went with like $20 in your pocket. Like it was not, and then to go to the 34th pick and you're getting a signing bonus and all this stuff. I mean, talk about a massive life change in 8 months. I mean, incredible.
And that's like a real story, man. I drove up to Temple I remember getting there, right? And I drove to Temple. And like on the way, you know, you buying gas and stuff, whatever. Man, I was like, I'm talking about I had nothing, man. And the guy named Ronell Williams, he was like a graduate assistant. He's a coach for the Philadelphia Eagles now. Really good dude, man. He took me to Walmart and like he bought me a lamp, you know, like just bought me a couple of things that I needed. You know, it kind of looked out for me. And my whole time really at Temple, he looked out for me, man. Really, really good dude. I owe that dude, you know, everything. But he just, you know, he looked out for me. But I really drove up there with $20. I look back on it like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's talk about like a leap of faith.
Yeah.
$20 in your pocket.
Seriously.
Going to Philadelphia.
Driving the UPS truck.
You know seriously, bro. Like I look back on it like it's no way, man. But I really did that. It's crazy.
That's incredible.
And did it register to you at that time? Like, this is crazy, or did you not think you just were going because this is the opportunity? Like, what was your mindset at that time?
I was just going because of the opportunity, man. I didn't even think twice about it, man. Like it was like, I was like, it's now or never. Like I feel like I had to do that. You know what I mean? Like it was no other options. Like that's kind of how I am. Like I look at a goal, I just go for the goal. Like I do whatever it takes to reach that. You know what I mean? And I have like put the blinders on. I don't see any distractions. I don't see anything going around. It's just that goal. And that's kind of how that situation played out.
So then when you're the 34th pick and you get a signing bonus and a big payday, like how does your life change?
Well, my life didn't change so much, man. I feel like my family's life changed. You know what I mean? I retired my mom.
That's cool.
You know, take care of her, take care of some of my family members and stuff. But myself, like I still live a pretty regular life. You know what I mean? I live in a regular house, drive a regular car, you know, wear regular clothes. I mean, I live a pretty regular life. It's just, you know, throughout the week I've practiced and on Sundays play football.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like, I mean, I still go to the mosque and pray and hang out with the people and my life didn't change as much. You know what I mean? Maybe like the way people looked at me and viewed me changed, but like how I viewed myself and how I carried myself, it didn't really change.
Right. I'm curious, like when you've had the success that you've had, you know, not only being drafted 34th, but, you know, now the career you've had in the NFL since, how do you still tap back into that grinder mentality of practicing under, you know, your coach's car lights on the field in the darkness?
I feel like it's just in me, man. I feel like it's in my DNA just to be that kind of way, because I know like just how, you know, God blessed me with it, he can take it back from me. You know what I mean? So like me working hard and doing right is like, you know, me showing my appreciation for what God's blessed me with. You know what I mean? So like, you know, if I were to just, I must be a terrible person, that's like, that would be wrong, you know, because God blessed me with such a great blessing. And then likewise, if God gave me this opportunity and I'm lazy, I don't work hard, I don't take it serious, that would be wrong, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's just like part of my DNA, just to be that way, you know what I mean?
So last one for me, Rock, you goals are clearly something that are on your mind. You know, you talked about having that laser focus. Do you have any goals you want to share with us for what you
said? They're
to...
unspoken goals.
I know.
Man.
We'll see.
I'll talk about the team goals. You know, we want to win. You know, I want to win. I want to be a part of a great secondary. You know, I want to dominate. You know, I want to talk. That's all I got for you.
That's fair.
That's as much as you're going to get.
That's fair. I understand.
Well, Rock, we're really excited about it, man. You're looking great on the practice field. Excited to see you play this year, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it,
man.
Well, big thanks to Rock Yassin for stopping by the SeatGeek studio. Really enjoyed the conversation with him. Also, we want our listeners and our viewers to know that DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the Baltimore Ravens and has a limited time offer that you do not want to miss. So here's what you need to do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code FLOCK. If you're a new user, you can get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. That's only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You got to be over 21 and physically present in Maryland to play. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so really just enjoy the conversation with Rock. I think that he's a guy that is a huge signing. He's going to play a massive role on this team this year.
Be a starting corner. That's a pretty big role.
Very big role. And I think that, you know, hopefully Ravens fans got a chance to just know who he is a little bit more. I thought it was interesting just to learn his mentality, his makeup, his faith, all of that.
You see why the Ravens were interested in signing him. I mean, this dude screams Raven, right? I mean, just like a worker, grinder, physical, tough, you know, the mental side of it, just like you see why they were so interested in bringing Rock Yassin in here.
Yeah, and to get him for, you know, when they did, like this is a guy who was an ascending player, then he gets traded and then hurt.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he's just available and is kind of under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that like this is going to be a move that when we look back on it at the end of the season, you're like, man, how did the Ravens get him for such a good deal? Like that was a home run acquisition.
Yep.
And I think the early returns have been very positive. I like what I've seen from him. He practices hard.
Yep.
He's high energy on the field. I just think it's going to be a really good addition to this defense.
Yeah, totally. So you have some fan questions.
Yes. As always, you can email us at the lounge at ravens.nfl.net. Got some fan questions. A couple different people who have been here at training camp, which if you're here at training camp, always enjoy listeners.
You got my guy, Nick?
Nick here.
Nick
said hello.
Yes.
He said it was super nice to meet both of you. Thanks for taking time. So his question is, who's going to lead the Ravens in touchdown catches this season?
Woo!
This is tough. We've debated like we've said this before in past years where we've talked like, catches, receptions, yards. We've just gone the clean sweep for Mark Andrews. I don't know that I'm going to go clean sweep this year.
I might go Odell.
Yeah.
Touchdown catches. I think if there's one category where Mark could be usurped, that one will be the one I would point to.
You think that catches over yards? You think Mark's still the leader for
Mark
yards?
still might be the leader in yards.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's between Odell and Mark.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Those would be the two guys at the top of my list.
Yep.
I'm going to go Mark, but I could it would not shock me at all if the season ends and Odell has 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like that, I could see that being the case. And actually, during the stadium practice, the live show, we talked a little bit about Odell's ability in the red zone. He had the touchdown red zone target. He also had another one where he made a great kind of extended catch, caught about the 5-yard line.
Yep.
I just think that he's shifty. He's got great hands, of course, but he's got like a feel and that shiftiness, which is going to pay dividends around the red zone. I mean, that's really like when he was at the Rams, that's where he was making a huge impact.
Yeah. Well, really, I mean, there's no denying the fact that the Ravens have to make pretty big strides in the red zone as compared to last year.
Yeah.
And I really like the assortment of weapons that they have, generally speaking, but particularly when you really look at how good are they going to be in the red zone, right? And I really like Odell for the reasons you're saying, just that feel for the game, getting open, making clutch plays. I mean, dude's made a lot of clutch plays in his career.
Totally.
Big, as we were talking, the circumference. Did we land on circumference or radius?
Catch radius.
That was a joke. I remember
Yes.
it. His big catch radius. You can throw it high to him. You can throw it anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And then I also like Zay in that he's so quick and to get separation in tight spaces. I think that he's going to be really good in that way. And then Nelson Aguilar, I mean, we saw him elevate in practice on Monday and go up, really climb the ladder on Brandon Stevens and catch one. And the Ravens have, Ravens fans, I feel like have been talking for so long about we need that big bodied receiver to go up there and win jump balls and be that red zone guy. Nelson Aguilar isn't like the biggest body guy. He's got some height to him, but he can elevate. Elevate.
I've always felt like that's a bit of a misnomer that like you need the jump ball guy. Like
right.
Sure, if you can have all of the tools,
right.
like there was a reason that Julio Jones was one of the best receivers in the game throughout his career, or AJ Green. Like sure,
Randy Moss. Sure, you got Randy Moss throwing fades all day.
Yeah, that's great. But like Antonio Brown was pretty darn good in the red zone, and he's not a big guy. Odell Beckham in his career has been excellent in the red zone, not a huge guy. So like I think that the ability to get open, having a feel for just what the moves to make and how to set up defensive players, and then the ability to make a catch in traffic, I think that is what really makes a good red zone player.
Yeah, agreed. And shout out to Nick. Nice to meet you. Great
Nick.
Farmer.
Yeah.
Telling you his backstory, great farmer.
Yes.
Remember when, so he and Marlon have a little bit of a relationship, Marlon Humphrey. And do you remember last year when like Marlon sent out a message to the whole company and was like, I have 1 million grapes and either in the cafeteria, come down. Anybody who wants to take some grapes home, come down here and get them. And of course I sprinted.
Yeah.
I took a ton of grapes home.
Yeah.
My kids ate grapes for 3 weeks long. It was all thanks to Nick.
Yeah.
Nick sent him a bunch of grapes.
I didn't even realize that.
I have too many grapes. I'm bringing them in.
Yeah. They were great grapes.
They were,
So thank you, Nick. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
And all right, here's another question. This one is from Eris. Says, hey guys, it's Eris. A long time since I've emailed, but I haven't stopped listening, given that there's still some uncertainty in terms of the health status of current running backs and the state of the running back market overall. Do you think that there's any chance, or does it make sense for the Ravens to bring in Zeke Elliott on a 1-year prove-it kind of deal?
Well, they already made this kind of addition with Melvin Gordon, right? So, no, I don't think they're going to sign another running back. I mean, right now, they're really full at running back. I mean, we all, of course, assume at some point J.K. is going to start practicing here during training camp, is the assumption. Gus Edwards, Melvin Gordon, Justice Hill, who they just re-signed this offseason, and then you have a pretty talented undrafted rookie in Keaton Mitchell. So, that's 5 right there already. And so, no, I don't think they're going to bring in another veteran. That was really the Melvin Gordon side.
I think the only way it happens is if all of a sudden you start to get injuries or something like that. But I don't see it. Yeah. I don't see that being the move. I agree. I think Melvin Gordon was the veteran free agent acquisition. Yeah. And that's how I think it's going to play out. All right, one more question here. As always, you can email us at thelounge@ravens.nfl.net. I got the chance to come out there to the castle and be in attendance for training camp practice. The weather was insanely hot and humid. Last week it was insanely insanely hot and humid. Thankfully, this week they've turned down the temps a little bit.
It's very nice.
It's been very nice. So I liked what EDC and scouts have put into place on both sides of the ball. If everyone stays healthy this year, it could be a size 'em up year for the team. I think we'll add a few more pieces before the start of the season, but I loved what I saw during the installation process of camp. This team is only going to get better. This is from Pradeep. So not a question, but just a very optimistic email. And I know it's easy to say we're drinking the purple Kool-Aid now, but I think that like the optimism is real around this team. I think I feel that around town. I think you saw that, strong attendance at the stadium practice, and it's been high energy out here every day. And I think that optimism is justified.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I wrote this a few weeks ago that I think this is the most talented roster the Ravens have had in quite some time. And you would compare it against 2019 as the natural one, 14-2. Pretty darn good team. Yeah. Right? And you had multiple, the offensive line was stacked. You had Ronnie, Orlando, Marshall all went to the Pro Bowl. Yeah. And so, but like you look at the weapons outside in particular, drastically better when compared to that team. I mean, on defense, you have a lot of studs at every level. And I think like Rock was kind of saying, there's also this good mixture of young players who are kind of on the verge of breakouts. Right, like Justin Madubuike, Broderick Washington, guys who have had good years, but like, man, are we going to be looking back in 4 years, whatever, next offseason? Could these be some of the biggest contracts given out this?
Rock could kind of fall in that category.
Rock, young ascending player who now coming off the injury is kind of like his star isn't as bright as it was 2 years ago because of the injury and whatnot. But like, another good example of a young player who's really on the up, right? So like I was saying, Madubuike, Broderick Washington, Patrick Queen, entering a big year 4 where he could just explode. Mm-hmm. Kyle Hamilton on the back end. The pass rushers, David Ajabo and Odafe Owe. So like defensively, I think especially you look at it and you're like, man, like if some of these guys boom, not all of them are probably going to just boom. But if most of them do, what's this defense? This defense could be really nasty. In addition to just the Roquans, the Marcus Williamses, you already know what they are, right? Like you have the Michael Pierce in the front, what those guys are. But if some of these other young ascending pieces really blossom, like special unit, and then you flip it to the offensive side, Tyler Linderbaum, same kind of thing, right? You have some young pieces. Zay Flowers, what if he goes off this year? Certainly possible. J.K. Dobbins, young player who could completely go off. Isaiah Likely, go down the list. Like, it's not, you have some really good star power veterans, but you also have this next tier of young players in their upper 20s, who are like on the verge. Yeah. And so it makes me really think that this roster could be the best in a long time.
Yeah, I also think, and it's hard to put an exact measurement on this, but I think it's a hungry team for different reasons. Like I think that Lamar is still seeking that Super Bowl and that playoff success that has eluded him in his career, and like he has talked about that. I think as we said, the contract is done, and so
mentally it just seems like he's in a good place.
Yep, totally. I think Odell Beckham coming back, coming back from the injury, he's got questions. Yep. The running backs and every running back in the league has questions these days. Like
something to prove. Yeah.
Rock, as we talked to him, like he's got something to prove. So I just think that there's individual feelings of something to prove, and there's also this hunger that the team has. Last year ending the way it did, where you're so close, and
knowing you have a good team, but then Lamar gets hurt and you just fall short. You should have beaten the Bengals, but you didn't.
You're right. I just think that like there's this hunger that exists on this team, and I think that's going to serve them well.
Yeah. I'm pumped. When do we start playing games here? It's not that long, right?
well, preseason is right around the corner. Yeah, and then obviously, it's going to be here before we know it.
Size them up preseason games.
Size them up preseason. The streak.
Keep the streak alive. Let's be honest.
So. Email us to the lounge at ravens.nfl.net. During camp, by the way, any press conference that we have is going to live in the Ravens Press Pass podcast feed. So every presser media availability is there in its entirety. So go ahead, check out that feed as well. So make sure you're subscribed to both feeds, leave a rating and a review. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk with you again soon.